What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on a very early Saturday morning. Folks, we are less than 1 day away from the Super Bowl, Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going down. But as you know, once that game is over, we have several months with lots of football related activity still happening. We got the NFL Combine next. And then shortly after that, we have the NFL Draft. Oh, yeah, and then free agency will hit here shortly as well, too. So going to be an action-packed year. Folks like Aaron Rodgers moving around, potentially Russ Wilson on the way, Kyler Murray, what's going on in Arizona. But today, we're going to get into the 2022 NFL Draft. Now, this is a series we've been working on off and on since December, I believe it was. But today, we're going to get right into it. The topics that we have today are defensive tackles, offensive linemen, cornerbacks, and then also as well safeties. So we're going to get into that here today. And as you see right next to me, I have Devin Jackson, Blue Chip Scout, sports news anchor, part of Nolan News. Devin, please tell folks where they can find you and a little bit about your resume, sir.
For sure. You can find me on Twitter at RealD_Jackson. And, we talked a little bit about it. I'm a contributor for Blue Chip Scouting. And I covered the Mountain West and MAC conferences and watch those guys specifically, but also, I do some feature stories, been keeping up with like the Senior Shrine Bowl, and was able to talk to a few players that were able to go to both events. So been trying to keep up with them and talk a little bit about their games and them getting to be in the All-Star circuit. And then with NOLA.com, covering the Saints, LSU, Pelicans, all the sports teams in New Orleans. So been keeping pretty busy, but it's almost peak draft season here. So definitely ready to talk about a ton of players and talk about some guys that people should get to know over the next couple months.
Excellent. Well, we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes. In the meantime, I'm going to play the intro. And when we come back, we'll jump right into the defensive tackles. Here we go.
Touchdown with Doug Smith, celebrate, that's a new move. Heisman, true views, catch them on YouTube. NFL coverage, interviews, new news, who win, who lose, comedy, you choose. It's not about moolah, the QB's like Tua is missing in action. No L's on my shooter, play it like Marino, it's a gamble like casino. Hungry for it, but we still gon' try to feed the beef. Rivalries will lead the conference, Cowboys of the Eagles. Will Belichick be a threat, better check. Tomlin on deck, much respect to the vet. What to expect? Gotta tune in for the rest. Make sure to sub, like, check. At the best, bad boy, the sports podcast for the threat across the north, east, south, in the west. Sitting back, clueless, time to tune in. Now another sports center, it's a movement.
That's right, folks. Not another sports center, it's a movement. Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. And our fans, if you're a first time coming in on the show, make sure you go ahead down below, hit the subscribe button, comment below. Also, I have Devin Jackson's information down below. Please be sure to give him a follow. He breaks down tape beautifully. I mean, it's literally poetry in motion. Devin Jackson, very happy to have you here today, sir.
Yeah, glad. Like I said, I'm glad to be here to talk football. And since the last time we talked, watch a ton more players. So definitely interested and happy to talk about some more guys that have been catching my eye, and then some guys that people should get to know by the time we roll around, late April or early May.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off with D tackles. Now, Devin, he's going to present, anywhere, we'll say, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 or so players per position who we deem as being an NFL draft prospect. Devin, going to kick it off.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to some of the bigger names in this class. A couple of them down at the Senior Bowl, one being obviously Jordan Davis. I know a lot of people are going to gravitate towards his name and how dominant he is, and how athletic he is for his size, like 6'6", 320, and can move all over the field. His teammate Deontay Wyatt as well. He's also really talented on that Georgia team. And then one in particular that I like that, is from the Power 5 school, for Darian Mathis from Alabama. I think he has a pretty nice skill set, tools, uses his strength in the upper body and lower half as well to disengage blocks. But I kind of wanted to take the time to talk about some guys that people may not know already or may not be on people's radar. And one guy in particular down at the Senior Bowl had a really, really solid Senior Bowl, and played for a team that wasn't necessarily the greatest, but he still made plays, and that's Travis Jones, the defensive tackle out of UConn. He has a terrific skill set. He was able to penetrate gaps, be able to kind of be a finesse player where he's stacking and shedding blocks, being able to create penetration in the backfield, and he was like one of the lone bright spots on that UConn team. He consistently made plays. He has some really good tape against Clemson this season, and that really carried over into the Senior Bowl. He did much of the same, winning in the pass rush drills, being able to affect the team drills as well by getting in the backfield and once again making plays. So I think he's going to be one of those value guys, on day two, probably mid to late day two, where around probably the third round, you're going to see his name come off the board, and people are going to be surprised at what he does. But I expect him to test well when it comes to the combine and showcase more of that skill set. So he's the one guy that I think he's kind of, I don't want to say fly under the radar, but I think people should get to know because he's going to be really, really talented. A few more names I want to drop here that aren't necessarily big names, but guys that I've liked in this process. Jordan Jackson from Air Force. He also was someone that intrigued me, can make plays from the 3 and 5 technique. Kind of plays kind of a versatile role. I do think he's going to have to gain a little bit of weight. He played at 285 at Air Force and probably needs to get closer to that 300 mark.
You got weight limits over there.
yeah. So but it was still impressive. Even at his size, he still was able to make plays, be very athletic in between the tackles. Being able to get around blocks, splitting double teams. So I think he's going to be someone to watch. Not necessarily. He may not get drafted. He may be at 7th round or UDFA, but I think he can stick around, kind of with his work ethic and just how well he's able to get off the ball and make plays in the backfield. So I think he's someone to watch, in the later stages. And then someone also to watch on day 3 of the draft, Taylon Humphrey from Louisiana. He's a monster. I think he's like 330 pounds. He played at that and down at the Shrine Bowl. He was just eating up blocks and eating up, space in the interior. I think he's going to be a true nose tackle as it relates to the NFL draft. I think you're going to see teams, take that day 3 pick on him and utilize him, especially in those short yardage situations, and be able to truly affect the game in the run game specifically. Do think he needs to continue to work on his pass rush and pass rush motor, but I think immediately he's at least a 2-down player that you can rotate in and out and be effective.
Excellent. Yeah, it's exciting about those smaller school guys where they go over there for an opportunity, right? But also, a lot of people think that, there's no way that, someone from UConn make it to NFL. But we've seen big names come from UConn. We've seen names come from a Air Force Academy now that they're more so able to get waivers to go into the NFL, right? So, I don't know. A lot of people don't remember the name. Was it Byron Fisher, I think it was. Back in the early 2000s, played for the Seattle Seahawks, So I'll be very, very excited for those young men entering draft day. And the good news is the smaller schools, they may not come from a UGA, they may not come from an Alabama, but you can get first round talent, in the 4th round. It happens all the time. Moving on, offensive linemen. Who are some of your draft gems for O-line? Now, obviously, that's a broad term because there's centers, there's guards, there's left tackles, but any names that stick out to you specifically?
Yeah, a couple of these guys were able to be in an all-style circuit, and some of them I've been keeping tabs on since during the season. But first thing I want to drop is Matt Waletzko, the offensive tackle from North Dakota. He has impressive size, has some functional athleticism. show some ability to get outside of the box and make some huge blocks in screen action as well as down the field. And I thought he had a solid performance down at the Senior Bowl. I think he showed that he can play with the big boys and be able to stick at tackle, as it translates to the next level. Not sure if he's going to necessarily play left tackle at the NFL level. Possibly a right tackle is in his future, but I do think he has the size. He has the grip strength with his hands. He has some functional athleticism to move and be able to handle a little bit quicker and finesse pass rushers. And I think he's going to be one of those, draft and stash kind of developmental guys where he's not going to start immediately. He's going to need some time to continue to work on his technique, his fundamentals. But ultimately, I do think he can be a great value pick on day 3 and continue to grow his game and be kind of that, player that in a couple of years you're going to look back and say, that was a great selection by the team, developed really well, and could be, one of those above average starters in the league that stick around for 10 to 15 years. So I like what Let's Go. And then, switches to another tackle that is kind of really burst on the scene, Bamidele Olaseni from Utah. He has a terrific wingspan. I think he has one of the biggest wingspans we've seen in quite some time at the NFL draft. And that was kind of the buzz around him down at the Shrine Bowl. He had a terrific wingspan. He's a guy from London, played community college for a couple of seasons, and then he went to Utah, didn't really get to play until this season. It's his first year starting. And, he's definitely a work in progress. He definitely has the length advantage against everyone that he goes against. And he's able to stymie, pass rushers just with his arm length simply, and he's still learning how to play tackle. But what's exciting about him is he has that terrific wingspan. He has some athleticism in this lower half, and he is a really talented run blocker. He can move people out of the hole, and just once he gets a grip of you, you're not going anywhere. So I think for him, he's going to be one of those developmental guys as well that you draft. Probably, I could see him going as early as the 3rd round, just with, based on how his athletic testing goes. I think teams are going to be very interested in what he brings. And while he's probably not going to be ready immediately to start, and it's probably going to take some time for him to continue to find ways to beat pass rushers outside of just using his length, I do think he can be a really talented player at the next level. A few more names I want to drop before we can move on. Jatir Carter from Southern. He also had another good, week down at the Senior Bowl. He played a little bit guard, a little bit of center down there. I do think he's probably going to play guard at the next level, although he played tackle with Southern. But he's a really, really good run blocker. That's kind of his calling card. One of his better traits. Very athletic player as well. Can move very well laterally and be able to counter some of those speed and power rushes. For him, it's going to continue to hone in on that athleticism and continue to get the hand placement in the correct spot. But I think he's built a really, really nice foundation for what he's done, and I'm very excited to see how he fares in the draft process. And then one last player I want to mention is Hayden Howerton, the SMU interior offensive lineman. I thought he had one of the best weeks for offensive lineman down at the Shrine Bowl. Continues to replace his hands at the point of attack. May not have the best best athleticism, but I do think he can be a very effective player.
Excellent. Devin, thank you so much for taking and breaking that down for us. It's exciting about this year's draft is it's not as flashy as like when the year Joe Burrow was drafted, and you have guys like Justin Herbert and Tua, and then last year, tons of really good receivers, Jamar Chase and so forth. And this year, there's some really good skill players, but it's definitely deep in the trenches. So if you need to stock up on D tackles, D ends, O linemen from different positions, this is the year to do it. This is the year to take and make that happen. If you're a team like Detroit Lions, believe it or not, they're very their O-line was very much so injured, but they're really just one good player and some depth away. Perfect draft for you. Your Miami Dolphins, where you need to replace pretty much everybody. This is the perfect draft for you on the O-line. So very, very excited, very excited. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about some of these draft prospects we named today. And then moving on, cornerbacks secondary, between, cornerbacks, for this year's draft. What are your thoughts? I mean, is it as deep as maybe positions in the trenches in this year's draft, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of depth at the cornerback position, especially at the top. You got Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, obviously in the mix. Derek Stingley, Andrew Booth, who has a lot of fans all over the draft community. Kyer Elam from Florida. So at the top, there's quite a bit of players that can really be difference makers at the next level. But also, I do think there's some guys that day 2 and day 3 can also make an impact for the NFL team. So players like for instance Cam Taylor-Britt from Nebraska, one of my more favorite corners in this class. He's very aggressive, in the screen and run games. He comes up and plays almost like a safety. I do think there could be a team that likes it more at safety and move him there. So I think there's a lot of versatility with this corner class. But Taylor-Britt is one. DeRon Bland from Fresno State is another one for me that I think could maybe move to safety. But I think he's fallen a little bit under the radar. I think he's going to go sometime late on day 3. But I really like his movement skills. I like his aggressiveness, how he is able to open up his hips and be very fluid in and out of breaks. I do think for him, kind of only getting that 1 year at Fresno State, a little bit of a limited tape. He came from Sacramento State and transferred, couldn't play in 2020 because of the FCS not having a season, but he's been terrific as well. A few more guys, Mario Goodrich from Clemson, also really a talented player as well. That a lot of people talk about Andrew Booth, but he really held his own down in Clemson and being that second corner on Clemson's team. He had a really, really terrific season, put together one of his best seasons. And then finally, Joshua Williams from Fayetteville State. He also very stood out down at the Senior Bowl, very, very sticky in man coverage and had some really good reps down at the Senior Bowl as well.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. And if you're coming from those divisions, ACC, SEC, there's lots of good receivers. If you're able to hold it down on tape, that usually transfers not all the time, but usually transfers pretty well to the next level, being the NFL. So excellent. All right, let me go ahead and see here. All right, so then the next one, and as we finish off the episode, we're going to talk about 2022 NFL draft prospects for the safety position. What you got?
Yeah, for me, I really like Marquis Bell out of Florida A&M University. I think he was one of my favorite safeties in this class, just with how much he does for that FAMU team. I think when you look at their tape and see him, he's all around making plays, inside the box, outside of the box, deep in coverage, in short man coverage. So I'm very, very interested to see how he fares, at the next level. But at the NFLPA Bowl, he really balled out, and I'm very interested to see how things go with him. So I'm very. He's one of my favorite guys in this class. A few more guys. Tyson Anderson from Toledo also played down at the Senior Bowl. He's kind of one of the special team all-stars. Where he's played over 700 snaps in special teams and been at least the very least his floor is going to be special teams contributor. But I do think he has some upside in man coverage and as a safety. Really good tackler in the open field. Plays the short zone very well and has some ball skills, has some length. So I think he's going to be a great value pick on day 3 just from his special teams contributions alone, but also just what he does in coverage. A few more guys I want to name here. JT Woods from Baylor. A lot of people talk about Jalen Petrie from Baylor, who was very talented, very very reminiscent of Tyrann Mathieu in terms of how much he's used all over the field, how he affects the game all over
That's
the field.
awesome.
But JT Woods, from Baylor, he also is a pretty good safety too. One of those day 3 safeties that can play very much so near and around the box. Has some great coverage in zone coverage as well. Probably fits best in kind of a defense that rolls him around, that rolls into like cover 3 and cover 2-4 and cover 2. I think he's really good in the deeper zones and being able to eliminate his half of the field, and then finally wrap it up with Kobe Harvell Peel from Oklahoma State. I think he's also a really talented guy as well, where he doesn't necessarily have the foot speed, doesn't necessarily have the explosiveness, but his instincts are really, really good. Really a solid tackler in open field. Do think he's going to be a bit limited in deeper zones, but I do like what he brings potentially to an NFL team. So it's very interested in him as well. But very, very stacked safety class for sure. That this Kyle Hamilton is at the top. Is really not close to the next person, but I do think there's a lot of guys that bring versatile skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had to choose between, probably like one safety out of all those, anybody who's reminiscent of, say, Brian Dawkins or, Taylor played for the Redskins a long time ago, anybody who you see greatness, we're like, hey, this person is really going to stand out at the next level.
I think it'll probably be Jalen Petrie from Baylor. I do think he's just such an impact player, at all levels of the field. And down the Senior Bowl, he continued to prove that. One-on-one with tight ends, in the box, coming down and making plays in the run game, making plays in the screen game. So he does a little bit of everything. I think he's probably the guy for me that I think can immediately make that impact and continue to be disruptive at the NFL level. And he hits pretty hard as well too. So I would say Jalen Petrie for me.
Hey, good to see you, gentlemen. I've been listening. We got dumped on. I told Doug we got dumped on with snow, and he just texted me it's going to be 81 in Florida today. So I was shoveling that. But I had a quick question for you. I've been listening. Talking about the safeties, Isaiah Palomalu, who's Troy Polamalu's nephew, he has some development, but what do you think about him? Like, what do you think he could turn into a little bit later on down the road?
Yeah, he's someone that I've been wanting to get around to. I've been seeing a little bit of his film, but from what I saw, I think he's a talented guy. Play for USC and has been really dynamic in that back end for them. I do think obviously development is going to be the biggest thing for him, and continuing to develop kind of his eyes and reaction ability. But I think the tool set is there. Obviously playing related to Troy Polamalu will help, and I'm sure he's given him a lot of tips on how to be successful at the next level. But I think there's definitely a baseline there, definitely athleticism for the NFL level, and it's just about for him what scheme is he going to fit into, how can he be an impact player on an every down basis. But what he's shown in coverage, I think, is it's good enough, at least for the NFL, to take a second and third look and bring him in and see what else he can do for the team and continue to develop from there.
Yeah, and then the last question I had, because I'm going to ask this every time. Like you talked about it a little bit earlier when we had you on, and Doug, I hope everybody knows Devin Jackson's their favorite scout at this point. So
yes,
we're excited to be able to have him come on.
Absolutely.
You mentioned a few players. I think going forward, HBCU is going to have a lot of picks coming out with some of these recruiting classes that they're putting together. It's good to see. But is there anybody you think you have an eye in the secondary or free tackle line?
You said from HBCUs or just in general?
Yeah, from HBCUs. Like at any of the positions you covered today, like D tackle, O-line, safety. Like, do you think that there's anybody that has a shot of being like a day 2, day 3 type pick and making an impact?
Yeah, I think Marquis Bell from FAMU, I think he has a really good shot to go like late day 2, early day 3. Jatir Carter, the offensive lineman from Southern as well, I think really helped himself down the Senior Bowl to give himself an opportunity to go day 2 or day 3. I think those two guys kind of stick out in my mind. James Houston, the fourth from Jackson State, also someone the kid to watch out for. He played outside linebacker for Jackson State this year, but he worked down at inside linebacker down at the Shrine Bowl. And I think it's going to help raise his stock to be kind of that versatile guy in between, linebacker, outside linebacker, be a situational pass rusher, situational blitzer. And I think a team is going to like his skill set and what he brings to the table. So I think those three guys, to me, kind of stick out in my mind that, aren't necessarily the skill guys per se, but I do think they bring, value to a team because all of them have some versatility. Like I talked about with Jatir Carter, he started out as tackle, but then he played guard down at the Senior Bowl. And I think that's going to be huge for his development and, how teams view him, is not more than just a potential tackle, but a guard as well. And then same thing with Marquis Bell. He could be a nickel type player as well because he works so well in man coverage. He plays so well against tight ends and slot receivers. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of use him in a versatile skill set where he's not just playing safety. He's playing nickel. He's playing inside the box as a dime backer. I think he has a interesting skill set that the NFL teams will cover at the very least.
Love it. Awesome. Well, folks, there you have it. And Mike, you said it perfectly. Like this is your recruiting scouts' favorite man. This guy, he breaks down film. Please go down below. I'm at loss for words. Please go down below and follow this man on social media. He breaks down film. He has super dope interviews as well too. Very articulate questions. Ladies and gentlemen, Devin Jackson. Devin, thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. And like you said, I have a few interviews on the way as well with, another HBCU guy, Deshawn Dixon of Norfolk State. That's coming sometime later this week. So very excited to share that. He's a really, really talented player as well that I forgot to mention that I think could possibly get drafted as well. But yeah, I got a fun interview coming with him. So very excited to share that.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, no, there's a lot of gems throughout college football, especially HBCUs, because it's still college football. There's still tons and tons of talent, and so I'm gonna be really, really excited where some of these guys, what teams they land upon for sure. Awesome. Well, that's all I got here today. You guys go ahead, comment below. Let us know what you think. Again, we broke down D tackles, offensive linemen, cornerbacks, and safeties. We got into it. And I hope everybody has a good night. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Hey, I'm rooting for the Bengals, but I think the Rams are going to win. Real quick before you go, Devin, who you got winning tomorrow?
Yeah, I agree with you. I want the Bengals to win, but I do think the Rams ultimately win the game. But I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going down tomorrow. Get your nachos out, chicken wings, all your snacks, and it's going to be a show. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching Touchdown Nation. Catch y'all next time. Peace. Devin.